Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. So today I'm going to be sharing my shopping tips for London and Paris. So if you don't already know, I recently traveled to London and Paris and I did film some vlogs. So if you haven't seen those vlogs, go ahead and check them out. But I wanted to share today my shopping tips for London and Paris. And I have 3 major tips to share with you. So let's just get into it. This video would be helpful just to share my experience shopping. Also, sometimes it can feel a little bit intimidating when you start thinking about the currency and exchange rates and how much things will cost and how much you're going to spend and budgeting. It can become quite overwhelming, and for me it was a little intimidating at first, but now that I've gone through it and learned more, I want to say, please don't be intimidated about traveling abroad and shopping abroad and don't be intimidated by it. Of course, like everything else, you're going to have to create a budget for yourself and make sure you know how much you're spending and all. But other than that, it actually worked out to be just fine. So I'm going to give you my tips that helped me save a little and actually spend my money a little more wisely. So tip number 1 is buying currency. Or should I say exchanging currency. So I would say it's better to exchange your currency versus purchasing currency. And what do I mean by that? So I spent most of my trip in London. So I needed pounds and I needed to exchange my US dollars for pounds. So I could do that several ways. I can purchase currency from my local bank. I could purchase currency at like a kiosk, like at the mall, at the airport. However, when you're purchasing currency, you're paying like a retail rate on that currency plus whatever fees that merchant is charging you to exchange your currency with them. If you use, let's say, your debit card or your credit card internationally, you're not having to pay this retail rate. You're actually paying whatever the market rate is at the time, which is always a lot better. So keep in mind, when you use your debit card or credit card abroad, you may encounter international fees, which are usually about 3% of whatever you're spending. So that means every time you spend something, you're going to have to pay 3% on top of that because of the international fee. Luckily, one of my banks does not charge international fees, so I was able to use my debit card abroad without any international fees at all. And using that debit card, I was getting the best exchange rate, not a retail rate. So that's a big tip, is be careful with purchasing currency. Now, of course, when I first left, I did purchase a small amount in currency, so I had some cash on me when I arrived. But what I did was I went to an ATM and I found an ATM that was like free ATM fees. Like there was no fee to withdraw money. Like that bank wasn't going to charge me a fee. So that was great. And I withdrew money and I got the best exchange rate because I'm getting the market rate, not the retail rate. And then I was able to use my debit card shopping. You can avoid buying the currency and you can get the currency when you're actually on vacation by withdrawing it from an ATM or using your debit card along your trip, how I did. You're really going to save some money just with off the bat in the currency. Definitely double check with your credit card company or your banks and see if they are similar to mine where they don't charge international fees. There are some cards out there and some banks out there that do not charge international fees. But I would say number 1 tip definitely to save money is exchange your currency. Don't buy it. So tip number 2, research what you're planning on purchasing. So I was planning on making a couple of, more high price purchases on my trip. For example, I picked up those Porsche design sunglasses and my Louis Vuitton keepall. So I had to do my research ahead of time to make sure it worked out for me to purchase those items while I was on vacation. So what you want to do is research, go to that brand's website, go to that store's website, but go to the country you're visiting. So in my case, I went to either the France website or to the UK website. And I was able to see the price in their currency. And that's what you want to do. You want to see the price in their currency so you can calculate exactly how much it will cost you to purchase it while you're on vacation versus what you would pay for it at home. And so the couple of items that were more high price that I purchased while I was on vacation worked out to be a huge savings for me to buy it while I was on vacation. Like those Porsche Design sunglasses, I paid significantly less purchasing them in London than I would pay if I had purchased them here in the United States. In London, a lot of things were so moderately priced, and that's another thing I want to say. Don't be intimidated by like thinking things are going to be so much more expensive just because of the currency exchange rate and all of that, because I like had a fish and chips meal in London and I think it cost me like £8 or something, super affordable, where and £8 works out to be about maybe 10 to 12 US dollars. But if I would have gotten that same fish and chip meal here, I would have spent at least $16 to $18. So things are just very moderately priced, in my opinion, in London. Particularly with the kind of high-end luxury goods, things were very priced very differently in London versus what they cost here in the States. Certain things worked out to be cheaper in London anyways versus in Paris. For example, I want to mention shopping in Paris. I purchased my Louis Vuitton Keepall. That was on my wish list to purchase in Paris for my birthday. But I was just looking at some other things, and certain things actually worked out to be about the same that I would pay here in the States. So that's why I say it's important to do your research. Tip number 3, your tax refund. So keep in mind when you're shopping, you are paying VAT. So that's something that's really interesting, and I wanted to kind of briefly touch on this. So VAT is equivalent of sales tax. VAT, the sales tax, is actually included in the sticker price on anything you're purchasing. So when you look on the brand's website and you research prices, keep in mind that is including the tax. So that's what you're going to actually pay for the item. Like here, sales tax is added on to the sales price when you're checking out. So that's thing to keep in mind. Everything you're seeing, all the prices you're researching, that's including the sales tax already, the VAT. So keep in mind when you are leaving your vacation, you can get a tax refund for your VAT for anything that you purchase, because yeah, you don't have to pay taxes on items because you're not a resident there. So that was a huge savings for me too. I didn't kind of bank on that savings. I knew I had to do my kind of homework with the VAT and make sure I had everything in order for it so that it can get my tax refund at the end. But when I got my refund and I realized how much I received back, I was like, wow, that makes the savings of what I purchased even bigger. So I wanted to give you a quick tip about VAT. So the way VAT works is when you're purchasing something in a store, they print out a second receipt that will show what you purchased, what the VAT for that item would be. So that would be the refund you'll get back off of that purchase, as well as like some form, like a form which you have to fill in your contact information. Now, when I shopped at Porsche Design and Louis Vuitton, so I'm assuming like more high-end stores, they completed that form for me and they just gave me like a separate envelope and receipt that needed to be submitted for my tax refunds. So I didn't have to do any extra paperwork. Other stores would print out that extra receipt that has all your information on it, but you have to fill in your contact information before you head to the airport. So just keep that in mind. Some of the paperwork was done for me at certain boutiques and others I had to fill out. So when I arrived for the airport, I went to get my tax refund, and it was like pretty easy, simple process. I don't know if I was super lucky, but the entire process, like waiting online, getting my refund, took not even 10 minutes, maybe 15. So it was very quick for me. But you just kind of hand over all the receipts once everything's completed. They check everything off and add everything up, and they offer you a refund. And I was offered a refund in their currency, which would have been pounds because I was flying out of London. So I was offered a refund in pounds. I was offered a refund either back to my card, or I was offered a refund in US dollars. Because obviously I don't want to have pounds coming home and then have to worry about coming home and getting my currency back in US dollars, I just opted for the US dollar refund, which obviously, because now they're going to give me a different rate, worked out to be less of a refund than if I would have gotten it back on my card. But it just seemed easier to me at the time to get the US dollars and just be done with the whole refund thing. So I opted for the refund in US dollars, which was super easy. So guys, I hope these tips were helpful for you. That's my shopping and spending tips for London and Paris. If you have any questions or comments, as always, let me know in the comment section below. Until next time, guys.